going to be talking about data maintenance, and there's a bunch of questions here. One is cleaning up the data as we go along, and the other is a subject which comes up fairly regularly, which is the idea of actually reducing risk by just getting rid of stuff that's over a certain retention period date. And then the question that comes up is there's doing that manually and obviously doing it automatically. So the agenda today is to very quickly skirt over the why. I think we all know the answers to that: privacy, efficiency, and so on. We're then going to look at the various different data assets, the retention rule definitions, because retention is the hot subject at the moment. We've automated this for some of you. Others of you, we need to find out what your rules are, and then we need to go through how we actually do it, including automation, but also including the manual cleaning that you can do as you go. So as ever, we'll start with a few definitions. There are the contacts, who are the people that would own an actual job. So Mr. Bloggs is an applicant, and he is, if you like, the person who is the respondent or the appellant, or the person to whom you are sending the answers and who's asked the questions. The site is their address. The organization is a company they belong to. Now, mostly if it's a consumer, or if it's a what we call a B2C, or just a private individual, there wouldn't be a company. But if it's another organization like the Environment Agency or BEIS or the police force or the local newspaper, then you would add that as an organization. There are attached files, as you know. The user means one of your staff, the person who's actually logged onto the system. Audit data is data which is metadata, part of the metadata which is kept as you make changes to the system, as you know. An information request, you know what that is, and obviously feedback requests are those information requests which are waiting to get into, they're in the purgatory, sort of waiting to get into the heaven of the information request system. They've come off the web or from an incoming email, and they're waiting to be approved or spammed, as the case may be. So what are the data assets? Well, first of all, there are attached files, and I know that some of you will attach the actual letter that comes from the applicant, and some of you will attach files with your answers, which may then be public or private on the public disclosure log. Some of those should go, some of them after the retention period, some of them may not be current, some of them may be complained about by somebody and you want to put another one up and make the last one obsolete in the public disclosure log. Emails are always private. The interesting thing about emails is, of course, that they are an accurate audit trail of the emails going back in and out from the jobs, and hence the idea of deleting them is a different subject altogether. Notes would go with the job as the job goes, and you can make those public or private, and of course you would want to remove those over a certain period of time. You can't actually change notes. You can't get in and edit notes, although you can edit the subject of the information request, and you can edit the response that you've provided in that field there in the longer description. You can't actually edit notes, but you can obsolete them and add other notes to replace them, because notes are, again, an audit trail. Obviously, there are various activities within requests, and in addition to that, there are reviews, appeals, complaints, and all of those can be open or closed. They will obviously have their own retention periods if you ever come to automate this. So let's have a look at manual cleanup first of all. The most important thing is not to let rubbish into the system. You're all familiar with the acronym, which means garbage in, garbage out. So as you add a new request to the system, do check that that person is not a duplicate. Sometimes it's not that easy to do so. I have here on Chrome an example. So it could be that before adding a new request from my local newspaper, I would do a search for the Dudley Gazette or whatever it's called, first of all, to make absolutely sure that that person is not already on the system. So if I was to say Marengo, for example, then I believe that that person is already on the system. So I would just add the new information request to that person. So I'd go here and I'd say add a new information request to that person so that I didn't end up with duplicates. Likewise, you can end up with duplicates just through a good example would be if you have ever heard of What Do They Know, they will send you a completely different anonymous email every time they put in a request, and 10 of those emails could have been from the same person. And when you discover that that was the case, then you can delete duplicates and you can move all of the duplicate information requests into the same person. And you would do that using the data admin facility, which is documented. I haven't, you will have received during the email this morning a link to a document about data cleaning, and it explains how you can take 5 requests on 5 people who are the same person, get rid of 4 of the people after moving all of the requests onto the one that you're going to keep. What I tend to do is if I'm not going to keep a person and there's a duplicate, I tend to put something like XXX beforehand. And then once those people come up in lists, then you can see, oh, those are the people that we've got to get rid of at some point. So in our own CRM system, which we obviously use for our own support requests, as you know, if Bill Bloggs left Edinburgh City Council, we would put XXX Bill Bloggs and we would check with our contact at Edinburgh City Council to make absolutely sure that he has left of City of Edinburgh. It's not just that we've misunderstood. And then once he's left, we would then be able to move those information requests off him and put them on somebody else, or we would be able to obfuscate his name or do whatever our procedures say. In this case, we would almost certainly obfuscate his name and his email and his telephone number so that the same historical record of requests was there, which we tend to keep for about 10 years. And we would still not have the private information there. Obviously, in your organization, you'll have all sorts of other systems like we do. We have to get rid of people's names on our telephone system and various other linked systems. So I'm not going to go any further into data maintenance, but you see you can change things here. You can see also that you can completely delete an organization or a person. In order to be able to delete an organization or a person, there's a bit of a giveaway. You can see I forgot my password again and had to refresh it. You would pick that person and you'd click delete. But in order to be able to get the delete rights, if I wanted to get deliver rights to this imaginary employee, Laura Roberts, I would have to, oh, it looks like she's already got delete rights here. So delete, there we are, delete items. And that would provide this red button here. I would suggest that for all of your users, you do not, if you are the super user, do not give people delete rights and only allow people to put XXX in front of somebody's name, because otherwise they could break a referential integrity rule. If I was to delete this person here, all of that person's information requests will become invisible, and it's a devil of a job to put them back again. So don't, whatever you do, give the average user delete items, because it's a real hard GDPR delete. I mean, by hard, I mean that data is gone. So that's the manual clearing up. And don't forget, obviously, that whatever your retention period is, you may wish to, for efficiency purposes, keep your public disclosure log available so that people can search on answers for quite a lot longer than your retention period. And your retention period may also vary. Many of our clients' retention period varies by the type of request, and there's a bunch of other things to think about. I've done a quick summary in here, but there's a lot more to it than that. So just to summarize, many people say, oh, can you automate our retention period so that stuff gets deleted? Just delete everything after, I don't know, 60 months or whatever it is, 5 years. Well, there's a couple of issues there. First of all, there can be things which are still live. after that period. There can certainly be people who've been in your system for 60 months, but they're what we call frequent flyers. So they're the local newspaper bod who, and I'm probably giving away my stereotype of some types of reporter, but they get up at about 11 o'clock, stick an FOI in and see what comes back to see if there's a reporter, see if there's an article in it. Likewise, students who put in, and professors, you know, who frequently do these sorts of requests for all the best reasons. Obviously, if something is still open, if there's a review or an appeal, then you would want to check it. Now, the manual checks, when we automate, the way that we automate is that we will provide a list on, let's say, in one example, the 25th of March. So you've got then from the 25th of March till a date which you have agreed. Let's say, sorry, forgive me. Let's say the deletion is on the 25th of March. You can look at the report of what is to be deleted, automatically created by our system, any time up to the 25th of March, and change the status of something from to be deleted to don't delete. And you can also permanently say ignore this person because this is a reporter at the local newspaper. So regardless of whether he's on here for 25 years, we don't want to delete him because he's still putting requests in. We still need his name and address and his email to write back to him. Please also recognize that we have a very robust backup system, and what we're not going to do is, just because you have deleted Bill Bloggs because he's 5 years older, our backup system goes back every month and then every year for a few years, and so those backups will die at their own rate. They are encrypted, there's low or zero risk to you, but the idea that we could reflect the deletions of items in the backups is technically not a good idea. So after somebody has exercised their right to erasure and you've dropped them because they've moved to another local authority, their name will stay in the backup for a while. The expense, if you want to bear it, of dealing with that would be up to you. Having said that, they are encrypted on AWS, and I think you're pretty safe. I was just going to show you, because there is a lot more detail to this, a document which we put in the link. And this document started life as an exchange of emails between Accelerate and quite a few of our clients in the public sector. So this summary of just delete after X years and some of the things that we need to think about before automating that is in the document. And if you would like to discuss more detail with us, please do give us a tinkle, have a chat about it over the phone, or have a read of this document and come back and say, oh, that's ridiculous, it's just really simple, we only want 1 and 3 or something. But do at least consider some of these rules. I did also want to just go back to one thing which I forgot to mention on the previous slide. It occurs to me I haven't mentioned referential integrity. This is a simple concept. It is the idea that you can't remove a doctor's patients, a doctor, if they've still got patients attached. You can't remove a company in a computer system if they still owe you money. And in our world, you certainly can't remove a person if they still have IRs live, if they still have information requests live, or if they have information requests and you're removing that person, you need to do something with it. As I said, with our support items, we tend to obfuscate their name and their email, and then that covers us for GDPR, but it keeps the support item, as we call IRs, in our system. And that's really important, because sometimes we have to look back 10 or 20 years to say, how the dickens did we fix that one, or has this problem ever occurred before? So we need to keep that information on the system. In the same way as the PDL will hopefully save people putting in information requests because it's searchable on your system. So that's a brief run through data maintenance. The long answer and the more accurate answer to data maintenance is there's two manuals. The data cleaning manual, very happy to take you through. Many of you have been customers with us for 6, 8, 10, 15 years, and you will have data to clean. And we have done sessions with customers where we go through examples, look for duplicates, look for dirty data, look for data which should be removed anyway, and do it manually. And we can show you how that data cleaning manual works and bring that to life. And then secondly, we've looked at automated retention, and we probably need to work through the rules with you. So we've put an awful lot of money and investment into our retention engines, which have not been borne by the public sector. However, to actually implement automated retention, I think we charge for a day of development or something to be able to actually apply those rules for you. And then there's a fair amount of investment and intellectual and emotional investment that you'll be putting into it as well, because obviously you want to make sure those rules work before they go live. We tend to apply them manually for a while before we actually set them to go live. So next week, we're going to be looking at drop-down menus, things like different information requests, statuses, activity types, activity statuses, and so on and so forth, and the various different powerful ways that you can evolve your system, lookups, labels, vocabulary in the system, and so on. There are thousands of things that you can change to work for your jurisdiction. You'll be familiar, obviously, previously with bank holiday calendars and things which you can change. And then in the following weeks, we're going to be looking at report builder, so you can build your reports, and then various different user access questions which come up a lot. Thank you very much indeed for your time, and see you next week.